Hey, welcome back to the Soul Pod. This is Stacy. This is going to be video number 3 in this series on spiritual anxiety. Uh, Really, tools to help you turn your spiritual anxiety into personal growth. Um, when I write these, I start researching and thinking about what I'm going to talk about. I always envision them being 3 or 4 minutes long, and they're usually, like so far, I've done two that were 7 or 8. So, yeah, they're never as short as I think, but that's okay. Hopefully, you're sticking in there and you're getting your time's worth. I always think about how much time you put into this, how much you get out of it. Hopefully, you're getting out of it something that's valuable. So, right now, we're going to dive into video 2 in the series, turning anxiety into personal growth. On this one, what we're going to be looking at is spiritual anxiety, right? The stuff that is your soul calling out for a change in terms of your spiritual growth, and that's the area you're going to be doing your work on. You ready to go? Good. So in the last video, I talked about the Brianna Wiest quote uh, that discomfort is what happens when you're on the precipice of change, and also a quote from Carl Jung where he talks about there's no coming to consciousness without pain. There is pain, but there's also growth, and the gift on the other side of it's much bigger. So we're going to look at the spiritual side of this first, and after we're done looking at the triggers and everything else, we're going to talk about some tools that will help you start to actually do that work. Okay. So spiritual anxiety is a signal for transformation. It is something deep inside of you telling you now it is time to change. This is no longer okay. This thing is happening in your life. Think about it for a minute. What is that thing? Is there something in your life that must change? This is not how I pictured my life. And you feel that deep calling inside saying, now, this is it. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. We got to change. That's probably a spiritual transformation talking to you. There could be an emotional aspect to it as well. As I mentioned, those two overlap sometimes. Sometimes it can be both. It can be that intersection of the two of them, but typically there's always an element of spiritual in there, even with an emotional transformation. Spiritual anxiety involves like doubting your beliefs, longing for connection. Um, it's not a problem. This isn't a problem to have these things. It's your soul nudging you, telling you it's time for change. It's like it's time to expand. It's calling you home, okay? Pain is usually the precursor to spiritual growth. There was a spiritual mystic named St. John of the Cross, 16th century guy. Um, I love that how every religion has like a mystical side. It seems to be those are the ones that I gravitate towards. Like Rumi was a Muslim mystic, and it's those people who are sort of on the esoteric side of a religious thing, looking at it more from the soul side of it than the God side of it, from my perspective at least. But Saint John of the Cross is an interesting guy because he talked about the dark night of the soul. He talked about the dark night of the soul, and that's what this is. This is the dark night of the soul that you're going through if you're going through a spiritual crisis. Okay. Jungian therapist James Hollis put it this way. He said, the dark night of the soul is not merely a poetic phase, but a profound psychological reality. It is the descent into the underworld of the psyche, where we encounter our deepest fears and losses. Yet it is precisely in that darkness that we find the seed of renewal. For soul's growth demands that we face what we have avoided. Soul's growth demands that we face what we've avoided. There's something in us, there's a road back that way where we took the wrong turn in the woods. And our soul ever since then has been saying, this isn't where you belong. You need to go back. And sometimes you can't go back. So you have to break out the machete and start hacking your way through the woods to get back to the main path, the one you should be on. That's how this works. You following me? Are you feeling this? You feeling like this might be you? This is the one that you're dealing with? If it is, that's good, because I got some work I can help you to do to get through this. So let's recap your triggers. The triggers with this are things like questioning beliefs, uh, facing the unknown. If you have a deep yearning for connection, this might be one of the triggers that you recognize. These are normal signs that you are going through a spiritual expansion. If you embrace the anxiety of it, you're going to unlock spiritual growth in a huge way. So now let's get into the tools. The tools look like this. I'm going to give you 3 tools today. Okay, 3 tools, and these aren't going to solve your problem. They're going to set you up for success in starting to work through them. Okay, the challenge you have is a challenge you have, and it could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years. That really depends on how much work you put into it. But to lay the foundation to help yourself get in touch with what it is the first step. And these 3 tools will help you do that. So if you're ready, here we go. Tool number 1, walks in nature for connection. Now, you may not be somewhere where you can walk in nature. Maybe you live in a big city or something and there's not even a park nearby. You can do these nature walks in your head as well. They're not quite as good, but they're not bad. There is something about being in nature that is expansive, like our souls. It's very expansive. It's really hard to explain, but anybody who loves nature and who's gotten out into nature, who grew up in the country, understands exactly what I mean. If you grew up in the city and you haven't been very exposed to nature, it's maybe an esoteric concept and may even seem like a hippie sort of thing to think, but it's absolutely true. When you get into nature, it actually helps. So if you can't do it physically, do it emotionally, where you sit and you imagine yourself being in the forest by yourself, breathing, seeing the beauty. You know what beauty looks like. And if you can get in nature, do it. Do it as often as possible. Take walks, preferably by yourself, or with if you have a dog, walk your dog. That's great. But be out there and listen to the silence and listen to the sounds coming from in here. Listen to what your soul is telling you. What is your soul telling you? What is not okay? And it may be screaming it. And you may be going, that's not it. It's probably it. Listen to your soul's voice. Okay, get in nature. That's number 1. Number 2, journaling to explore meaning. Okay, when you journal, and I talk about journaling a lot because it's super powerful. It seems like a ridiculous tool to people who haven't journaled, because it's like, so what? So I'm writing something down. It's about getting it out of here and out here. It's just like talk therapy, where it's no longer bouncing around your head. We have ideas that bounce around our head, and it's like, okay, I get it. I see what's going on. I'm working this out. You're not really working it out. You're just retelling yourself the same story, and it's like a pinball game where the ball never falls. It just bounces back and forth, right? It's better when you get it out of yourself, and that's why journaling helps. So write about your spiritual anxiety. Write in your journal, I feel lost in this, whatever it is. I feel a crisis of faith. I feel like I'm on the wrong road. Whatever it is that comes out of you, don't stifle it. Don't question it. Don't block it. Just let it flow, and then read it. This is a lot like a therapy session, except you're having the therapy session with yourself, and you get to be the analyst as well. Isn't that beautiful? And boy, how much money are you saving doing that, right? It's a lot cheaper. And I'm not saying therapists aren't good, because if you got that going on, that also can be a really important part of this. So you get walks in nature, you got journaling. The cool thing about journaling is that it brings out the cause of our darkness, and it brings us to consciousness. Like Jung was talking about, we don't come to consciousness without pain. We have to come to consciousness. We have to at least have some understanding of what it is we're dealing with. And journaling starts to help us do that, as does walks in nature. The third one, though, is going to be meditation. Meditating. And if you already meditate, that's great, but we can get into some specific types of meditation here that'll help you. What I want you to do is I want you to sit with the thought of trusting your anxiety. Okay? Sit, be alone, be somewhere quiet. Take 5 long, deep breaths. Take them in, let them out. Take them in, let them out. Just land here where you're at. And trust your anxiety. Ask your anxiety questions. What is my anxiety teaching me? Ask yourself, what is my anxiety teaching me? Sometimes you can do this before journaling too. And then that way you can put a journal next to you, and as it comes up, or just a notepad, and you can just scribble on it with one hand. Breathe land here, ask yourself, what is my anxiety teaching me? If it's not anxiety, whatever word you want to use is fine. What is my malaise? What is my stress? What is this feeling teaching me? And what will happen is between these three things, something will emerge that'll tell you what the source is. Okay? This will help you get in touch with it. And after that's the next step. And the next step is working through those things. The important thing is that once you've identified it, you know what must change. Now it's on you. There's no coming to consciousness without pain, right? Once you know what it is, you can go after it. You have to be bold, you have to be strong, you have to be brave, you have to go after it. That has to change. If that doesn't change, your life won't change either. You'll be stuck right here where you're at. If you're okay with that, you can do that. But if you've watched this far, you're not okay with that. So now you have the answer to it. It's time to change. The next question is, how do you go about doing that? Sometimes it's as simple as, this relationship's not working. I don't like my job. I'm tired of having one flat tire. I need to go change one of them. Whatever it is, something very simple, right? Not simple to do necessarily, but the answer is simple. It's that what if question that gets in your way when you start moving forward with it. So don't let that happen. It is discomfort, but the most difficult times are the ones we give ourselves. Staying with discomfort reveals our greatest teachings. This is what Pema Chodron said. The most difficult times are the ones we give ourselves. It's the stories we tell ourselves, right? Staying with discomfort reveals our greatest teachings. When we get to the discomfort, we are teaching ourselves. We're revealing to ourselves what must change, what needs work, what we got to shine the flashlight on. Okay? If this clicked, great. If it didn't click, hang in there. There's 2 more videos coming to you. One of them's going to dive into the emotional side of this. The other one's going to dive into the psychological side of it. So if you haven't found the answer yet, haven't figured out how to get there yet, stay tuned. Come back, check out the next 2 videos.